This episode of Forging Friendships is sponsored in part by Iron Mountain Metalcraft, located in the beautiful Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area. Go forge a memory with Forged in Fire fan favorite Robbie Bowman. Woo! The show is also sponsored in part by African Custom Knives, Black Dragon Forge, Paragon Kilns, and with the support of viewers like you through our GoFundMe campaign, link in description. Today, it's already hot. We are in the suburbs of South Houston at Don Halter's. Let's go see if he is here and ready. What's up? How's it going? Good, doing good. Don, meet everybody. Everybody meet Don.
Hey everybody.
You're gonna get to know him a whole lot better.
So I grew up a poor child in Cuba under the dictatorship and a broken home. Massive addiction to heroin. Only through bladesmithing was I. I'm Don Halter. I'm 51 years old. I'm a native Houstonian. I've been doing bladesmithing. This is my 30th year. Started in 1990. And everyone always sees the radioactive symbols and the Kragaxe armory and Don Kragaxe, and they're like, started off in medieval reenactment. And I loved axes. I wanted an axe. And I'd go out and I'd go to Ren fairs and stuff and see things, and they were cheap. And at that time I was working summers for a NASA contractor in a machine shop, 3 months in a nice machine shop. I got all the experience of the senior machinist. So I started making axe blades and such. So this is pretty cool. It is a hay button anvil, forged steel anvil from, I believe, 1908. I talked to a guy up in Oklahoma back when I was going to school at Texas A&M, 1991. You know, your typical first starting out blacksmith, everybody says, you gotta have an anvil, gotta have an anvil. Paid, I think, $300 for it, and I drove up to Oklahoma City in one afternoon from College Station. Drove back with that, accidentally hit the brakes too hard on the way home and knocked a hole in the bed of my pickup truck. So, it's a great anvil. It's 168 pounds, so I can still heft it and take it out, kind of portable, but it pretty much stays where it is when I hammer on it too. And I kind of got my garage shaped in a horseshoe. So people used to laugh that would come over and say, so if I start on the left and I make a horseshoe around, we come out with a sword. If you start on the left, make a horseshoe around, you come out with some sort of firearm. I don't know, you know. I guess it depends what mood you're in. I just started getting into folder knives. People have been pushing me for 20 years now to make a folder knife, and they finally wore me down. I got a metal lathe. As you can see, that gets used a lot. I use it every now and then if I got to put some little fittings or something on something, but I do most of my stuff by hand on everything else. My bench grinder, I built this one myself. Standard belt grinder, 2x72. Got a 1.5 horse motor stuck on there, step toys to adjust my speeds. I was in a hurry because Forged in Fire had called me and my grinder was in pieces. It was supposed to have a slide mount under it to help for adjusting tension on that and change belt speeds, and I never put that on because I had to have it finished in one day. It's been 2.5 years now. I've never gone back and finished the upgrade. And of course, anyone that's won Forged in Fire through season 4 should recognize one of these. Paragon furnaces, I was gone for the day when it arrived, and I told my wife, hey, I'm supposed to get a package today. Just have them set it by the curb, then if you want, you know, get the pallet, dolly, whatever, and drag it up by the garage for me. I get this phone call at work. It says your 200-pound pallet showed up with the 4-foot by 4-foot crate on it, and if you want it by the garage, you need to take the afternoon off work and come down here and move it yourself. And of course, it started pouring down rain. There's my box of body parts, all the bones and stuff I pick up. And it's always fun when people come over and visit me and, wow, you have a a coyote skull sticking out of a box on a shelf. That's a neat anvil. It's also 230 pounds. I know what you're thinking. That wouldn't be a problem for me, but yeah, I know. And it's actually a Swedish anvil. It's a soda furs, and it's actually the ore body marked anvil. Kind of the Cadillacs of anvils over there, they actually stamped the anvil designating that the ore used to make the steel for that anvil came from a specific mine. So they're very highly prized anvils. They are extremely hard, so you can chip it very easily. So it was at a mine, and it was one of those that closed up in the early 80s. They went bankrupt, and basically workers showed up to the front gate. There's a sign that said, closed, go home. And we came in because it was also radioactive. There were milling machines and metal lathes and giant band saws. I mean, mining equipment is big on everything. It was still there, and it was Upper Nevada, so it was covered by dust and pigeon crap, so it was perfectly preserved. And we're walking around, and the guy's like, yeah, we're just dozing this. Like, you're not selling this for scrap. You know, what about some equipment here, man? I'll buy it from you. I'm like, no, we've already sold all the assets. Those are what are staged out there. Everything in here is trash. They had a pickup truck. Well, I couldn't help but notice underneath this table, I see a horn sticking out, kind of like that. Hey, man, so all the stuff is trash. So if I want something, what would it take to get it? Have it out of here by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, because that's when the dozers come. You'd be surprised how quick you can move carrying a 230-pound anvil. I think I left part of my lower back over there on the hill trying to get it out of the building. So these are some of the fun things that I've been doing with the woods. I like this one. If Picasso was in the pastels, he would love this piece of wood. This was a tallow tree stump that the neighbors at the end of the street had set out after the hurricane. And it had some spalting lines on the surface. So I'm like, oh, I spent a year and a half drying this piece of wood and curing it here in the garage, only to cut it up and find out, wow, there's no cool swirly black lines. So this is actually done with only 2 colors of dye, but you'll see about a dozen different colors in there. This is wrought iron over high carbon steel. So as you can see, it gets that nice color action going on there from the different silicon inclusions and the darkness of the high carbon steel. This is cable Damascus, and if the light hits it just right, you can see kind of like a Japanese hamon going down the center of it, all splotchy along the edges because of the cable, where it has different carbon contents and the different strands in the cable. And that wasn't done with any type of clay coating. That is just strictly based on the cooling rate and the crystalline structures that are formed within the steel. This is my crucible furnace. So when you actually start doing crucible steel, you melt it in, and you're making ultra high carbon steel that gets some really neat properties, and it precipitates out carbides and yada yada yada. We can get into the science, but it basically you melt metal, make the steel puck. It's got a lot of carbon and a lot of other stuff in there that forms these little cool bands in it that makes the pattern. So you put beer glass on the top. That protects your metal from oxidation, and you fire it for about an hour and gets it nice and molten, and then you let it cool slowly in the furnace. Nothing you're going to make money at. It's strictly an art of love. A lot of people look at this and say, why do you have a mooring thing in the middle of your driveway? You tie your cars up during hurricanes? I like building black powder stuff, and I like things that go boom. Not bang, but boom.
That's the difference in Texas and everybody else. We don't like bangs, we like booms.
So this is actually it's a 6-inch caliber. They call it a standing mortar. I based it off a British Sikh War pattern mortar, and actually it's a mortar that gets mounted on a cannon carriage, so it's portable. Well, and we used to fire it off at, everything from Halloween to New Year's to 4th of July. Houston tends to frown on that. And I got some friends that are law enforcement, and they said, please don't. It weighs about 300 pounds.